The forest of Arundel 7 glowed with soft blue and purple light. Strange plants grew tall here, and their leaves shined like tiny stars in the darkness. This was a beautiful world, but it was also dangerous. Many creatures lived in these woods, and not all of them were friendly. Vera walked carefully between the glowing trees. Her silver skin caught the light, making her look like she was made of moonlight. Her large eyes, soft and golden, watched everything around her. She was a Lunari, one of the elegant beings who had lived on this planet for thousands of years. Behind her, a small figure followed with quick, excited steps. This was Lumi, her daughter. Lumi was only 7 cycles old, which was very young for a Lunari. Her eyes were even bigger than her mother's, filled with wonder at everything she saw. "Mother, look at this flower," Lumi said, pointing at a plant that opened and closed like a breathing creature. "It is so pretty," Vera smiled gently. "Yes, my little one, but do not touch it. Some pretty things can hurt you." They were deep in the forest today, far from their village. Vera was teaching Lumi an important tradition. Every Lunari mother took her daughter to gather healing roots when the child was old enough. These roots could cure many sicknesses. Finding them was a skill passed from mother to daughter for generations. "Why do we come so far, Mother?" Lumi asked. Her small legs were getting tired. "Best roots grow where few people walk," Vera explained. "They need quiet places to become strong," Lumi nodded, trying to understand. She trusted her mother completely. Vera knew everything about the forest, about medicine, about life. To Lumi, her mother was the wisest person in the whole universe. They walked for another hour. The trees became thicker here. The glow from the plants was dimmer, and shadows filled the spaces between the trunks. Vera felt a small worry in her heart. They were very close to the border now. The border with the human territory. "Mother, are humans real?" Lumi asked suddenly. Vera stopped walking. She looked down at her daughter with a serious expression. "Yes, they are real." "Why do you ask?" "Elder Torvak says they are monsters. He says they destroy everything they touch. He says they killed many Lunari long ago." Vera was quiet for a moment. "The elders told many stories about humans. Stories of violence and war. Stories of loud machines and burning forests. Most Lunari believed these stories completely. They stayed far away from the human colony on the other side of the planet, but Vera's grandmother had told her a different story once. A story about a human who found a lost Lunari child during a terrible storm. The human had carried the child back to safety, walking through rain and wind for hours. When the Lunari parents came to take their child, the human had simply smiled and walked away. No payment. No demands. Nothing. Vera had never forgotten that story. "Humans are complicated," she finally said. "Some are dangerous, but perhaps not all of them. We should not hate someone we do not know." Lumi looked confused, but nodded anyway. They continued walking. Vera spotted the healing roots growing near a fallen tree. She knelt down and began to dig carefully with her long fingers. The soil was soft and wet. The roots came out easily, pale white and smelling like fresh rain. "Come, Lumi, I will show you how to." Vera never finished her sentence. There was a sharp sound, like metal hitting metal. Then pain exploded through her leg. Vera screamed and fell to the ground. Something had grabbed her ankle, something made of dark metal with glowing red edges. The device was burning her, sending waves of fire through her body.
"Mother,"
Lumi screamed. She ran to Vera and grabbed her arm. "Mother, what is happening?" Vera could barely speak. The pain was too much. She looked at the thing on her leg and recognized it with horror. It was a plasma trap. Poachers used these terrible devices to catch rare creatures and sell them to criminals. The trap would not let go. If she moved too much, it would burn deeper. "Ash!" Lumi Vera gasped. You must run. I will not leave you." Lumi was crying now, her golden tears falling on her mother's silver skin. "The poachers, they will come. When they see me, they will take you too. You must run. Find our village. Bring help." But Vera knew the truth. Their village was too far. It would take Lumi many hours to reach it. By then, the poachers would already be here. By then, Vera would be dead or taken. Lumi looked around desperately. Her young mind was racing. The village was far. But there was something else, something closer. The human colony. Mother, the humans know. Vera grabbed Lumi's hand weakly. No, my child. They are dangerous. The elders say, Grandmother's story, Lumi said suddenly. You told me grandmother's story. The human who saved the child. Vera's eyes went wide. She had told Lumi that story only once, many months ago. She did not think Lumi had remembered. That was just a story. It said we should not hate someone we do not know. Lumi's voice was shaking, but her eyes were determined. Mother, please, let me try. Vera felt her vision getting dark. The pain was making her weak. She could feel her blood leaving her body. She did not have much time left. She looked at her daughter. So small, so young, so brave, Lumi. Be careful. If they try to hurt you, run. Promise me. I promise, Mother. Lumi kissed Vera's forehead. I will bring help. I will save you. Lumi stood up and ran. She ran faster than she had ever run before. The glowing forest flew past her. Branches scratched her arms. Strange creatures watched her from the shadows. But she did not stop. She could not stop. Her mother was dying. Behind her, Vera lay alone in the darkness. The trap continued to burn. She could hear her own heartbeat getting slower. She thought about her daughter, running toward the unknown. Running toward the humans. Vera closed her eyes and did something she had not done in years. She prayed. She prayed to the old spirits of her people. She prayed that the stories were wrong. She prayed that somewhere in that human colony, there was someone who would help a dying Lunari mother. She prayed that her daughter would not be. Running toward another kind of trap, the forest grew quiet. Somewhere far away, a night bird called out into the darkness, and a small silver child ran through the glowing woods. Carrying the weight of her mother's life in her tiny, desperate hands, Lumi ran until her lungs burned. She ran until her legs felt like they would break. The forest changed around her as she moved. The trees became smaller. The glowing plants became fewer. And then she saw something she had only heard about in stories' light, not the soft, natural light of her forest. These lights were bright and sharp and white. They came from tall metal poles standing in a row. Beyond them, she could see buildings made of strange materials. Machines moved between them, making sounds she did not understand. The human colony. Haven Colony, they called it. Lumi stopped at the edge of the forest. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might escape from her chest. Every story she had ever heard about humans came rushing back. They are violent. They are cruel. They will hurt you. They will kill you. But then she thought of her mother. Lying alone in the dark forest, bleeding, dying. Lumi stepped out of the trees. Immediately loud sounds filled the air. Red lights began to flash on the metal poles. Lumi covered her ears and fell to her knees. The noise was terrible, like screaming metal. A voice shouted, "Stay where you are." Lumi looked up and saw humans for the first time in her life. They were strange creatures. Their skin was not silver like hers. It was brown and tan, colors she had only seen on rocks and soil. They had small eyes and flat faces, and they were pointing long black objects at her. Weapons. She knew what weapons looked like. Lumi began to cry. She did not know what to say. She did not know if they would understand her. But she remembered something. One phrase. Her grandmother had taught it to her mother, and her mother had taught it to her. Just in case. Just for emergencies. Please help, Lumi said. Her voice was small and shaking. Please help. The humans looked at each other. They seemed confused. They kept their weapons pointed at her, but they did not shoot. What is it? One of them asked. Looks like a Lunari. A child, I think. What is it doing here? They never come near us. Lumi tried again. Please help, Mother. Mother hurt. More confusion on the human faces. They talked quickly to each other in words Lumi could not follow. She felt hopeless. They did not understand. They would not help. She had failed. Then a new voice came from behind the guards. "Let me through." "Move." I said, "Move." A human female pushed past the guards. She was smaller than the others, with long black hair tied behind her head. Her eyes were dark but kind. She wore strange clothes, covered in dirt and plant stains. This was Hannah Bay. She worked in the colony as a researcher. She studied the plants and animals of Arundel 7. She had always been curious about the Lunar, but she had never seen one up close. Now a Lunari child knelt before her, crying silver tears. Hannah moved slowly toward Lumi. The guards shouted at her to stop, but she ignored them. She knelt down in front of the small alien girl and looked into her golden eyes. "Hello," Hannah said softly. "I am Hannah. What is your name?" Lumi sniffed. "Lumi, Lumi. That is a beautiful name." Hannah smiled gently. "You said your mother is hurt?" "Yes, yes." Lumi grabbed Hannah's hands. They were warm, warmer than Lunari hands. "Bad thing. On her leg, burning, much blood. Please, please help, mother." Hannah's face became serious. She understood now. Something terrible had happened. This child had come all this way, alone, in the dark, to beg for help from the very people her kind feared most. That took more courage than most adults ever showed. "I will help you," Hannah said firmly. "I promise." She stood up and looked at the guards. "Lower your weapons." "She is just a child. We have protocols," one guard said. "We need to call the commander. Call whoever you want. But I am going to help her." Hannah pulled out a small device and pressed a button. "Yuna, are you awake? I need you at the east gate. Now, it is urgent." A tired voice answered through the device. "Hannah, it is the middle of the night. What is happening?" "A Lunari child. Her mother is injured somewhere in the forest. We need medical help." There was a pause. "Then I am coming." 10 minutes later, another human arrived. This one was older than Hannah. Her name was Yuna Park. She had short hair and tired eyes. Her hands were covered in small scars. She walked with the confidence of someone who had seen many difficult things and survived them all. Yuna had been a combat medic before coming to Arundel 7. She had saved lives on battlefields and in disasters. She had seen death more times than she could count, and she had learned one important truth: every life was worth saving. She looked at Lumi with a careful expression. "Tell me what happened." "Tell me everything," Lumi tried to explain. Her words were broken and mixed up. She did not know the human words for many things, but she used her hands to show the trap. She pointed to her leg to show where it had grabbed her mother. She made burning sounds to explain the pain. Yuna listened without interrupting. When Lumi finished, Yuna nodded slowly. "A plasma trap. Poachers." Her voice was angry but controlled. "Those are illegal. Very illegal. Can you help?" Lumi asked desperately. "Can you save Mother?" Yuna looked at the small alien child. She saw the fear in those golden eyes. She saw the love. She saw a daughter who would do anything to save her mother. Yuna had seen that look before, on human faces, on the faces of children whose parents were injured in wars, on the faces of mothers whose babies were sick. That look was the same everywhere, in every species. Love was universal, Yuna said. "I will help." She turned and called out to another person. "Tyke, get the emergency kit, and bring the trap disruptor tools." A tall man came running. This was Tai Quan, Yuna's partner. He was an engineer, good with machines and tools. He did not ask questions. He simply grabbed the equipment and prepared to leave. "This is dangerous," one of the guards said. "The forest at night. The Lunari might think we are attacking. This could start a war." Yuna looked at him coldly. "A mother is dying out there. Her child came to us for help. If we do nothing, we do not deserve to call ourselves human." She grabbed her medical bag and looked at Lumi. "Take us to her. Run as fast as you can." Lumi felt something warm spread through her chest. Hope. These strange creatures with their flat faces and small eyes were going to help. They did not ask for anything. They did not demand payment. They simply said yes. Maybe the stories were wrong. Maybe humans were not all monsters. Lumi grabbed Yuna's hand and pulled her toward the dark forest. This way. Please hurry. Mother is waiting. And they ran together into the night. The forest was different at night. The glowing plants that seemed beautiful in daylight now looked strange and threatening. Shadows moved between the trees. Strange sounds came from everywhere. The humans had small lights attached to their heads. But these lights only showed a tiny part of the darkness around them. Lumi led the way. She moved quickly, her small feet knowing exactly where to step. Behind her came Yuna, Tyke, and Hannah. They struggled to keep up. The forest was not made for humans. The paths were too narrow. The branches hung too low. The ground was soft and wet and tried to grab their feet. Much farther? Yuna asked. She was breathing hard, but refused to slow down. Not far. Not far, Lumi said. But she was worried. It had taken her a long time to reach the colony. How much blood had her mother lost? Was she still alive? They crossed a small stream. The water was cold and glowed faintly green. Tyke slipped on a wet rock and fell hard on his side. His hands scraped against sharp stones. Tyke. Hannah rushed to help him. I am fine. Tyke stood up and looked at his bleeding palms. He wiped them on his clothes and kept walking. We cannot stop. Yuna looked at him with respect. Tyke was not a soldier or a fighter. He was a quiet man who liked machines more than people. But tonight, he was running through a dangerous alien forest to save someone he had never met. That was true courage. They continued forward. A large creature watched them from behind a tree. Its eyes reflected the light from their headlamps. It had too many legs and too many teeth. But it did not attack. It simply watched them pass. Do not make sudden moves, Lumi whispered. It is a night hunter. It only attacks if you run from it. The humans walked carefully, keeping their eyes forward, pretending not to see the creature. After a long minute, they were past it. Hannah let out a breath she did not know she was holding. They walked for what felt like hours. Yuna's legs burned. Her back ached. But she thought about the mother lying somewhere ahead, waiting, hoping, dying. She pushed herself harder. Finally, Lumi stopped. There she is. In a small clearing, under a fallen tree, lay Vera. She was not moving. Her silver skin had become pale, almost gray. The plasma trap was still attached to her leg. Glowing red in the darkness like an angry eye, Lumi ran to her mother and fell beside her. Mother, I brought help. Wake up, Mother. Vera's eyes opened slowly. They were dim now, not bright like before. She looked at Lumi, then at the humans standing behind her. Fear crossed her face. Lumi. What have you done? They came to help, Mother. They want to save you. Yuna knelt beside Vera. She examined the trap quickly, her trained eyes seeing everything. The device had burned deep into Vera's leg. The wound was bad. Very bad. A human might have died from this already. Lunari were stronger, but even they had limits. I am Yuna, she said calmly. I am a healer. I am going to help you. Do you understand? Vera stared at her. This human face was so different from her own, flat, strange, but the eyes. The eyes were kind and determined. Why? Vera whispered. Why would you help me? Yuna did not hesitate. Because you are hurt. Because your daughter asked. Because it is the right thing to do. Vera did not know how to respond. The elders had said humans always wanted something. They always demanded payment. They always had secrets and plans. But this human woman asked for nothing. She simply came, like Yuna called. Can you disable the trap? Tyke moved forward and examined the device. His bleeding hands touched the metal carefully. It is a plasma trap, Model 7. They are made to be difficult to remove. If I make a mistake, it could explode or burn deeper. Can you do it? Tyke looked at the trap, then at Vera, then at Lumi. The small alien child was holding her mother's hand. whispering words in a language he did not understand, probably telling her mother to hold on, probably telling her everything would be okay. "I can do it," Tyke said. He pulled tools from his bag, strange instruments that hummed and glowed. He worked slowly, carefully. Sweat dripped down his face. His injured hands shook slightly, but he forced them to be steady. Yuna prepared her medical supplies. She had never treated a Lunari before. She did not know their biology. She did not know if human medicine would help or hurt, but she had no choice. She had to try. "Hana," Yuna said, "I need you to talk to her. Keep her awake. If she falls asleep, she might not wake up." Hannah nodded and knelt beside Vera. "Hello. My name is Hannah. Your daughter is very brave. She ran all the way to our colony by herself. You should be very proud of her." Vera's dim eyes moved to Lumi, "My little one. So brave?" "Yes, she loves you very much. She told us you were gathering healing roots. Is that a tradition in your culture?" Vera tried to smile. "Yes. Mothers and daughters. For generations." Hannah kept talking. She asked about Lunary customs, about their village, about Lumi's favorite foods. Simple questions to keep Vera thinking, keep her focused on life instead of slipping toward death. Tyke worked on the trap. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. His tools made small clicking sounds. Sparks flew occasionally. Vera gasped in pain each time the trap moved. "Almost there," Tyke muttered. "Just one more connection." There was a loud click. The red glow on the trap died. The metal opened and fell away from Vera's leg. "Got it." Yuna moved immediately. She cleaned the wound with special liquid. She used her scanner to look inside Vera's leg. The damage was serious, but not impossible. Lunari bodies were different from human bodies, but the basics were the same. Blood vessels, muscles, bones. "I need to close these wounds," Yuna said. "I do not know if this will work on your species, but if I do nothing, you will die. Do you trust me?" Vera looked at this human woman, a stranger, an enemy, according to everything she had been taught. But this stranger had come through a dangerous forest in the middle of the night. This stranger's partner had disabled a deadly trap with bleeding hands. This stranger was now asking permission to save her life. "I trust you," Vera whispered. Yuna nodded and began to work. She used tools that sealed wounds with heat. She used medicine that stopped bleeding. She made decisions in seconds, adapting her knowledge to this new body, this new challenge. Lumi watched everything with wide eyes. She saw the human woman working without rest. She saw her focus, her skill, her care. This was not a monster. This was a healer. A true healer. After 30 minutes, Yuna finally stopped. She sat back and wiped sweat from her forehead. The bleeding has stopped. The wounds are closed. But she needs rest. A lot of rest. "Will she live?" Lumi asked, her voice small and scared. Yuna looked at the child and smiled for the first time that night. "Yes, your mother will live." Lumi burst into tears. She threw her arms around her mother and held her tight. Vera, still weak, lifted one hand and placed it on her daughter's head. "You saved me," Vera said to the humans. "You saved my life." Yuna stood up and stretched her tired body. "We need to move her to our colony. She needs proper medical care. Is that okay?" Vera hesitated. Going to the human colony? The elders would be furious. But she was in no position to refuse. And these humans had earned her trust. "Yes, that is okay." Tyke built a simple stretcher from branches and cloth. They carefully lifted Vera onto it. Then the small group began the long journey back to Haven Colony. The forest was still dark. The night hunters still watched from the shadows. But somehow, the journey felt less dangerous now. Maybe because they were no longer strangers. Maybe because they had become something else. Friends, perhaps. Or something close to it. 3 days passed. Vera lay in a clean white bed in the human medical center. Machines beeped softly around her, checking her heartbeat, her blood, her temperature. She was still weak, but the color had returned to her silver skin. Her golden eyes were bright again. Lumi never left her side. She slept in a small chair next to the bed. The humans brought her food and water and blankets. They did not force her to leave. They understood that a daughter needed to be near her mother. Una came to check on Vera every few hours. She had not slept much since that night in the forest. Dark circles hung under her eyes. But she refused to rest until she was sure Vera was recovering properly. "Your leg is healing well," Una said during one visit. "Lunari bodies are strong. Stronger than human bodies, I think. As human hearts are strong," Vera replied. "Stronger than I knew?" Una smiled slightly and checked the bandages on Vera's leg. The wound was closing nicely. In a week, Vera would be able to walk again. Hannah spent most of her time with Lumi. She taught the child simple human words. She showed her pictures of Earth, the human homeworld. Lumi was fascinated by the blue oceans and green forests. "So different from the glowing woods of Arundel 7. Your world is beautiful," Lumi said. Pointing at a picture of mountains covered in snow, "So is yours," Hannah replied. "I have always wanted to see a Lunari village. The elders say, we are not welcome." Lumi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Maybe that will change. Someday." But someday was not today. On the fourth morning, alarms began to sound throughout Haven Colony. Guards rushed to the eastern wall, the same place where Lumi had first appeared. Something was approaching through the forest. Tyke was the first to see them. "Lunari," he said grimly. "A lot of them?" 12 Lunari warriors emerged from the trees. They wore armor made from the shells of forest creatures. They carried long spears that glowed with blue energy. Their faces were hard and angry. At the front walked an elderly Lunari male. His silver skin was darker than the others, almost gray. His eyes burned with cold fury. This was Elder Torvak, the leader of the Lunari Council. He had hated humans for over 100 years, ever since the first war between their peoples. "Humans," Torvak shouted. "You have taken 2 of our people, a mother and her child. Return them now, or face the consequences." The human guards raised their weapons. The colony commander, a large woman named Jisoo Han, stepped forward. She was calm, but firm. "We have not taken anyone," Commander Han said. "A Lunari child came to us 4 nights ago, asking for help. Her mother was injured in the forest. We saved her life." "Lies," Torvak spat. "Humans always lie. You probably set the trap yourselves. You probably wanted to capture a Lunari for your experiments." "That is ridiculous," Commander Han said, her patience beginning to crack. "Why would we help her if we wanted to hurt her? To gain our trust? To make us weak?" Torvak raised his spear. "I will not ask again. Return them, or we will take them by force." The situation was becoming dangerous. Both sides had weapons ready. One wrong move, one nervous finger, and the fragile peace between humans and Lunari would shatter forever. Then a voice cut through the tension. "Stop. Please, stop." Everyone turned. Tyke was walking toward the gate. He was unarmed. His hands were still bandaged from his injuries in the forest. He looked tired and small compared to the Lunari warriors. But he did not hesitate. "My name is Tyke Kwan," he said calmly. "I was there that night. I disabled the trap that was killing your mother. I carried her stretcher back to our colony. I did not do this to trick you or hurt you. I did it because a child came to our gate alone and afraid, begging us to save her mother." Tyke stepped closer to Torvak. The warriors raised their spears, but Torvak held up his hand to stop them. "Your child showed more courage that night than I have seen in years," Tyke continued. "She did not know if we would help her or kill her, but she came anyway, because she loved her mother, because some things are more important than fear." Torvak stared at the human man. He saw the bandages on his hands. He saw the exhaustion in his eyes. He saw something he did not expect to see: honesty. But before he could respond, another voice spoke up. "Elder Torvak." Lumi came running from the medical building. She pushed through the human guards and ran straight to the old Lunari. She was not afraid of him. She had faced much scarier things, Lumi. Torvak's hard expression softened slightly. "Child, Are you hurt? What did they do to you? Nothing, Lumi shouted. They did nothing bad to me? They saved Mother. They saved her life. She grabbed Torvak's hand and pulled him toward the medical building. The old warrior was so surprised that he actually followed her. The other Lunari warriors looked at each other in confusion. Inside the medical center, Vera was sitting up in her bed. She had heard the shouting and had tried to get up, but Yuna had gently pushed her back down. You should not move yet, Yuna had said. My people are here. There might be a fight. Then we will stop the fight. But you need to rest. Now, Torvak stood in the doorway, looking at Vera. He saw the clean bandages on her leg. He saw the human machines keeping her healthy. He saw Yuna standing beside the bed, ready to protect her patient. Torvak said slowly. What happened? Vera told him everything. The trap, the pain, Lumi's impossible journey to the human colony. The humans who came without hesitation, the engineer who disabled the trap with bleeding hands, the healer who worked through the night to save her life. They asked for nothing, Vera said. They demanded nothing. They simply helped. Torvak was silent for a long time. His whole life, he had believed humans were evil. He had taught this belief to others. He had passed his hatred to new generations. But here was proof that he was wrong. Not all humans. Not completely. But wrong enough, he turned to Yuna. Why? He asked the same question Vera had asked days ago. Why did you help her? We are not friends. We have been enemies for generations. Yuna looked at the old Lunari. She thought about her answer carefully. I saw a child crying for her mother, Yuna said simply. I saw a mother dying alone in the dark. It did not matter that they were Lunari. It only mattered that they needed help. Where I come from, we have a saying, when someone is drowning, you do not ask if they can pay before you save them. You just save them. Torvak closed his eyes. When he opened them again, some of the anger was gone. Not all of it. 100 years of hatred could not disappear in a day. But some of it. Oh, I came here ready for war, he said quietly. I see now that I was wrong to assume the worst. He looked at his warriors. Lower your weapons. We are not fighting today, the warriors obeyed. Outside, the human guards slowly lowered their weapons too. The tension began to fade. Torvak turned back to Yuna. You have my gratitude, healer. And my apology for the accusations? I was wrong about your kind. Some of them, at least. Yuna nodded. We are all capable of being wrong. The important thing is what we do when we learn the truth. Lumi took Torvak's hand again and looked up at him with her big golden eyes. Elder Torvak, maybe we can tell new stories now. Better stories. The old warrior looked down at the child. For the first time in many years, he almost smiled. Perhaps, little one. Perhaps we can. 2 months had passed since that terrible night in the forest. The season had changed on Arundel 7. The glowing plants now shimmered with gold and orange instead of blue and purple. The air was warmer, sweeter. Life was growing everywhere. Vera walked through the forest alone. Her leg was fully healed now, though a scar remained where the trap had burned her. She did not mind the scar. It reminded her of many things. Pain, yes, but also hope. Also kindness. She reached a clearing near the border between her people's territory and the human colony. This place had been empty for generations. No, Lunari came here. It was too close to the humans, but now, someone was waiting for her. Yuna sat on a fallen log looking up at the glowing trees. She was not wearing her medical clothes today. She wore simple traveling clothes, comfortable and worn. Her scarred hands rested on her knees. You came, Vera said. Yuna looked up and smiled. I said I would. They had started meeting like this a few weeks ago. No guards, no translators. Just 2 mothers from different worlds, sitting under alien stars, learning to understand each other. Vera sat down beside Yuna. For a while they did not speak. They simply enjoyed the peace of the forest, the soft sounds of night creatures waking up, the gentle glow of the plants around them. How is Lumi? Yuna asked finally. She talks about Hannah every day. She has learned many human words. Yesterday, she asked me if we could visit Earth someday. Ayuna laughed softly. That might be difficult. Earth is very far away. But I am sure Hannah would love to show her pictures. They meet at the forest border twice every week now, Vera said. My people are not happy about it. Some of them say, I am letting Lumi become too friendly with humans. And what do you say? Vera was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out something small and smooth. It glowed faintly in the darkness, pulsing with soft white light. Do you know what this is? She asked. Yuna looked at the object. It was beautiful, like a piece of captured starlight. No, I have never seen anything like it. It is a memory stone. Among my people, it is one of the most sacred objects. We give them only to family. When you hold it, you can feel the memories of everyone who has held it before you. The love, the pain, the joy, everything. She held the stone out to Yuna. I want you to have it. Yuna stared at her. Vera, I cannot accept something so important. I am not your family. You saved my life, Vera said firmly. You gave my daughter back her mother. In many ways, that makes you more than family. Please, take it. Slowly, Yuna reached out and took the memory stone. The moment her fingers touched it, she felt warmth spread through her body. And something else. Feelings that were not her own. Love deep and ancient. Sadness from losses long ago. Hope, fragile but real, and gratitude. So much gratitude. Tears formed in Yuna's eyes. She had not cried in years. She had seen too much death, too much suffering, to cry easily anymore. But this was different. This was not sadness. This was connection. Thank you, she whispered. Vera nodded. Thank you. For everything. They sat together for a long time, watching the forest glow around them. Two people who should have been enemies. Two mothers who understood each other better than most friends. Far away, the border clearing, two other figures met in the darkness. Lumi waited by a large tree, holding a small bag. When she saw Hannah approaching with a light on her head, she jumped up and down with excitement. Hannah! Hannah, I brought something for you. Hannah laughed and knelt down in front of her small friend. What did you bring? Lumi opened the bag and pulled out several round fruits. They glowed faintly purple. These are moonberries. They are my favorite food. I wanted you to try them. Hannah took one of the fruits and bit into it. Sweet juice filled her mouth. It tasted like nothing she had ever eaten before. Wonderful and strange and new. This is delicious, Hannah said. Thank you, Lumi. I also learned a new human word today. Want to hear it? Of course. Lumi stood up straight and proud. Friend, it means someone you care about. Someone you choose to love, even if they are not your family. She looked at Hannah with her big golden eyes. You are my friend, Hannah. Hannah felt her heart fill with warmth. She pulled Lumi into a gentle hug. And you are my friend, Lumi, my very good friend. The months continued to pass. Things did not change quickly. The Lunari Council was still suspicious of humans. The human colony still had strict rules about the border. Elder Torvak still carried anger in his heart, even if it was less than before. But small changes were happening. A human trader was allowed to sell goods at a Lunari market. A Lunari healer shared knowledge about forest plants with human doctors. Children from both peoples met at the border to play games and share stories, and the stories themselves began to change. One evening, in a Lunari village, far from the human colony, a group of children sat around an old storyteller. They wanted to hear about the humans, the dangerous humans, the scary humans. But this storyteller told a different tale. Many years ago, she began, a mother was hurt in the forest. A terrible trap grabbed her leg and would not let go. Her daughter was young and small, but she was very brave. She ran through the dark forest alone, past night hunters and dangerous creatures to find help. The children leaned forward, their golden eyes wide. The daughter came to the human colony. She was scared. She did not know if they would help her or hurt her, but she was brave. She knelt before them and said the only human words she knew. Please help. What did the humans do? One child asked. They helped her. A healer came. An engineer came. A kind woman came. They ran into the dark forest together, 3 humans and 1 small Lunari girl. They found the mother dying in the darkness, and they saved her. But why? Another child asked. Elder Torvak says humans are selfish. He says they always want something in return. The storyteller smiled gently. The humans asked for nothing. They wanted nothing. When the mother asked them why they helped, the healer said something very simple. She said, because you were hurt, because your daughter asked, because it was the right thing to do. The children were silent, thinking about this. Humans are strange creatures, the storyteller continued. They fight like storms and heal like gentle rain. They are loud and chaotic and confusing, but they do not know how to abandon a child who asks for help. When they see suffering, something inside them breaks, and they cannot walk away. She looked at the children with wise, knowing eyes. That is what makes them different. That is what makes them worthy of respect. Not their weapons, not their machines, but their stubborn, foolish, beautiful hearts. Far away in the human colony, another story was being told. Human children gathered around a teacher who had visited the Lunari border. What are they like? One child asked. Are they really as scary as the old reports say? The teacher shook his head. They are not scary. They are proud and careful and quiet. They love their children fiercely. They protect their forests with passion. And they have very long memories. Do they like us? Some of them are starting to. It takes time to become friends with someone you have feared for generations. But we are learning. They are learning. One conversation at a time. One act of kindness at a time. In her home in the medical center, Yuna held the memory stone and thought about everything that had happened. A small child begging for help. A mother saved in the darkness. 2 people slowly learning to trust each other. It was not perfect. Nothing ever was. But it was a beginning. She looked out her window at the glowing forest in the distance. Somewhere out there, Vera was probably looking at the human lights, wondering the same things, hoping the same hopes. They had both learned something important in these past months. Hatred was taught. Fear was taught. But kindness was natural. It lived in every heart, waiting to be set free. All it took was courage. The courage of a small child running through a dark forest, carrying nothing but love and hope in her tiny hands. Yuna smiled and placed the memory stone beside her bed. Tomorrow, there would be more work, more patience, more challenges, but also more chances to build bridges, more opportunities to prove that humans could be trusted, more moments to show that the old stories were wrong. New stories were being written now. Better stories. Stories of 2 peoples who chose understanding over hatred. Stories of a human healer and a Lunari mother. Stories of a friendship between a young woman and an alien child.